All right, let's have a short discussion here of what the Enlightenment is. This will be our last slide for our chapter before we get to our big essay. All right, so Enlightenment thinkers in Britain and France and throughout Europe, they're known for questioning traditional authority, and they embraced or took the notion that humanity could be improved through rational change. Rational meaning kind of like thinking about it, explaining. They produced books, essays, inventions, scientific discoveries, laws, wars even happened, and revolutions. The American and French revolutions, which we'll study soon, were directly inspired by Enlightenment ideas. The Enlightenment, 17th century, people inspired it would be the Englishman Francis Bacon and Thomas Hobbes, and also the Frenchman René Descartes. Also, who we talked about, Galileo, was also a huge inspiration for the Enlightenment, and Copernicus as well. The roots of the Enlightenment are usually traced to about 1680 England, where in the span of 3 years, Isaac Newton published his Principia Mathematica and John Locke's essay concerning human understanding. So these two works provide the scientific, mathematical, and philosophical toolkit for the Enlightenment's advances. In his essay, What is Enlightenment?, the German philosopher Immanuel Kant summed up the era's motto in the following terms: dare to know, have courage to use your own reason. So it's kind of like an age of reason, an age of new thinking, of questioning former things that were established, one of which definitely was the power of the church. John Locke argued that human nature was gained through experience rather than accessing some kind of outside truth. So he says, look inward to your experience, question what's around you, and then you can find truth. Newton's calculus and optical theories provided powerful enlightened metaphors for measured change and illumination. Also, finding things as simple as how gravity works. There was no simple, unified enlightenment. Instead, it's possible to think about it. It kind of went to different places, kind of like the Renaissance did. There was the French Enlightenment, the Scottish Enlightenment, the English Enlightenment, etc. Enlightened thinkers also had different approaches. However, they definitely inspired change. Voltaire, who is definitely seen as kind of like a spokesperson for the Enlightenment, the philosopher Voltaire, in his philosophical dictionary called the Enlightenment a chaos of clear ideas. And again, dare to question, dare to find something new is kind of the theme of the Enlightenment, which definitely helps with science. And also the belief that, as Voltaire would say, everything in the universe can be rationally demystified. You can demystify, for example, find out how gravity works. Why are we on this planet? And how do we go around the sun? These things can be demystified by studying them and looking at them. Also, ideas like John Locke, his idea of everyone has the right to have things like life, liberty, and property, inspire the American Revolution. Especially this inspires Thomas Jefferson as he writes the Declaration of Independence, and the French Revolution as well. And it definitely inspires the French Revolution as it begins, all the way up to when the heads start getting chopped off. It's also a time of religious and anti-religious innovation. Christians see to reposition their faith along rational lines and say, well, God invented these things. If we're discovering things about science, we're discovering how God made the world. So we're learning more about God by studying the world. And there were anti-religious people who believed that the universe seemed to determine its own course without God being involved. And both thoughts are brought up during the Enlightenment. The bottom line is about the Enlightenment is it adds a whole lot of questioning, and scientific advances start coming and philosophical advances come, which definitely continue to advance society in Europe.